The crimson flames licked at the twisted metal remains of what had been New Terra colony just 12 hours ago. Commander Zara Vex of the Galactic Council stood among the smoking ruins, her violet skin pale with shock as she surveyed the devastation. 20,000 human civilians had called this place home. Now only charred foundations and melted synthetic materials remained. "The attack patterns are unmistakable," reported her tactical officer, a four-armed Zerion named Klaatu. His multiple eyes focused on the scanner readings with mechanical precision. "Plasma bombardment from high altitude, followed by ground assault. The precision is remarkable." Zara knelt beside a crater that had once been a playground. The edges were too smooth, too perfect. Only one species in the known galaxy could create such devastation with such surgical precision. "The Drakari Collective," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the settling debris. The Drakari were legends made manifest, ancient beings that resembled the mythical dragons from human folklore. They possessed technology that defied understanding. Their ships could phase through solid matter. Their weapons could burn through quantum shields, and their warriors were each worth 1,000 conventional soldiers. They had been dormant for over 3 centuries, sleeping in the dark spaces between stars. "Commander," Klaatu's voice carried an unusual tremor, "we're receiving a transmission from the Collective." The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a massive reptilian head covered in scales that shifted between deep emerald and midnight black. Golden eyes, ancient beyond measure, fixed upon Zara with predatory intelligence. When the creature spoke, its voice resonated like distant thunder. "I am Nethys, the World Burner, voice of the Collective. Your human settlements have encroached upon sacred grounds. They have desecrated sites of power that predate your species by millions of years. This is our only warning." Zara stepped forward, her diplomatic training overriding her fear. "Great Nethys, the humans had no knowledge of these sites. Surely there can be peaceful resolution?" The dragon's laugh was like the sound of mountains crumbling. "Peace? Your humans strip mine worlds, poison atmospheres, and spread like a plague across the galaxy. They have awakened something they should have left sleeping. The Collective has decided humanity's expansion ends now." The transmission cut to static, leaving Zara standing in the ruins with a growing sense of dread. She had studied the historical records. When the Drakari Collective made a decision, entire civilizations had learned to tremble. "Get me Admiral Harrison at Human Defense Command," she ordered. "Priority Alpha communication." The response came faster than expected. Admiral Marcus Harrison appeared on her personal comm, his weathered face grim even before she spoke. His gray beard was unkempt, and dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept in days. "Commander Vex, I assume you're calling about New Terra." "Admiral, the Drakari have declared war on humanity. They've destroyed an entire colony as a demonstration. Their technology is beyond anything we've faced before," Harrison finished. "We know. Our deep space monitors detected their fleet movements 3 days ago. 7 Drakari battle cruisers, each one the size of a city, heading toward the Outer Rim colonies." Zara felt her heart sink. The Outer Rim housed nearly 2 billion human civilians across 47 worlds. "What are our options?" Harrison's expression hardened. "The Council has 3 choices. Evacuate every human settlement in contested space, abandoning decades of terraforming work and leaving millions homeless. Negotiate a surrender that would essentially end human expansion forever. Or what, Admiral? We fight. Even though our projections show a 97% probability of total defeat." The silence stretched between them as Zara processed the magnitude of what they faced. The Drakari Collective had once fought a war against the combined forces of 17 different species. The dragons had won in less than 2 years. "There is one more option," Harrison said quietly. Something we've never tried before. Something that goes against every diplomatic protocol we've established. What do you mean? We're going to wake them up. Zara's blood ran cold. Wake up who? Harrison's eyes held a mixture of desperation and something that might have been madness. The reason humans have expanded so successfully across the galaxy isn't just our adaptability or our technology. It's our partnerships. Every world we've colonized, we've done so alongside species that were already there, indigenous populations that other galactic powers ignored or displaced. Admiral, I don't understand how that helps us against the Drakari. The dragons aren't the only ancient power sleeping in this galaxy, Commander. Human archaeological teams have made discoveries over the past century that we've kept classified at the highest levels. There are others, beings that were here before the Drakari, before any of us, beings that have been waiting. The transmission flickered as something massive passed between the planets. Through the static, Zara could see the outline of a Drakari battle cruiser, its organic curves and pulsing energy conduits unlike anything in conventional fleet design. We have less than 72 hours before they reach the core systems, Harrison continued. Our xenoarchaeology teams have located 17 sites across human space where these ancient presences are strongest. If we can wake them, if we can convince them that humanity is worth preserving. You're talking about unleashing forces we don't understand, Zara protested. Powers that could be even more dangerous than the Drakari. Commander, look around you. Look at what's left of New Terra Colony. The Drakari have already unleashed forces beyond our understanding. Our choice isn't between safe and dangerous anymore. It's between extinction and the unknown. As if summoned by their conversation, another transmission crackled through the static. This time it wasn't Nethys, but a different Drakari voice. Younger, but no less terrifying. Humans of the Outer Rim, you have 6 rotations to evacuate your colonies in the Kepler sector. After that time expires, any humans found on those worlds will be considered hostile combatants. We are Skyrick the Stormcaller, and we speak for the collective's patience, which grows thin. Zara watched the transmission end and made her decision. Admiral, initiate your protocol. Wake them up. Already in progress, Commander. Our teams are moving to the sites as we speak. God help us all. The comm went dark, leaving Zara alone among the ruins of New Terra Colony. Above her, the alien stars seemed colder than before, as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. In the distance, something howled in a language that predated civilization. And Zara realized that their war with the Drakari was about to become something far more complex than anyone had imagined. She activated her emergency beacon and began the evacuation procedures for her survey team. Whatever humanity was about to awaken, she wanted to be far away when it opened its eyes. The ruins of New Terra Colony continued to smolder as her ship lifted off, but the flames no longer seemed like an ending. They looked like the beginning of something that would reshape the galaxy forever. In the depths of space, ancient eyes that had slept for eons began to stir, drawn by the scent of dragon fire and the desperate prayers of a species fighting for its survival. Dr. Sarah Chen had spent 15 years studying xenoarchaeology, but nothing had prepared her for what lay beneath the surface of Kepler 442b. The excavation site hummed with an energy that made her instruments go haywire and her teeth ache. Ancient metal structures, if they could be called metal, twisted through the rock like frozen lightning, pulsing with a faint blue luminescence. The readings are off the charts, reported her assistant, a young graduate student named Marcus, whose hands shook as he adjusted the sensors. Whatever's down there, it's been dormant for at least 50,000 years, but the power signature suggests it's still functional. Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead despite the climate-controlled environment of their excavation dome. They had been working for 18 hours straight since Admiral Harrison's emergency directive came through. Around the galaxy, 16 other teams were conducting similar digs at sites where human colonies had discovered anomalous readings over the decades. "Dr. Chen," Marcus called out, his voice tight with excitement and fear. "The primary structure is responding to our presence. Look at this." The central artifact, a crystalline formation the size of a building, had begun to glow brighter. Symbols that resembled no known language danced across its surface like living things. As Sarah approached, the symbols seemed to focus on her, arranging themselves into patterns that somehow felt familiar, despite being completely alien. "It's trying to communicate," she breathed, her scientific training warring with an instinct that screamed danger. Above ground, the excavation team's military escort was dealing with more immediate concerns. Captain Rodriguez received the message just as the Drakari fleet entered the outer system. "Captain, we have 7 massive contacts incoming. ETA to planetary orbit, 6 hours. Admiral Harrison's orders are to maintain position and protect the dig site at all costs." Rodriguez looked through his binoculars at the strange lights emanating from the excavation dome. His men were good soldiers, but they were equipped to fight human insurgents and wildlife, not ancient dragons with technology that could shatter planets. "Any word from the other dig sites?" he asked his communications officer. "Partial reports, sir. Teams on Proxima 7 and Wolf 359C have made contact with similar structures. Dr. Patterson on Vega 4 reported that his team's artifact actually spoke to them in perfect English before the transmission cut out." Rodriguez felt a chill that had nothing to do with the planet's thin atmosphere. "Spoke to them? What did it say?" "According to the last transmission, sir, it asked if humanity was ready to pay the price for awakening them." Before Rodriguez could respond, the ground beneath their feet began to vibrate. It wasn't an earthquake, but something far more purposeful, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant beginning to stir. In the depths of space, Nethys the World Burner commanded the lead vessel of the Drakari fleet with the patience of eternity. His massive form, nearly 30 feet from snout to tail, coiled around the bridge's central command nexus, organic technology interfacing directly with his nervous system. "The humans continue their excavations despite our warnings," reported his tactical coordinator, a smaller dragon whose scales shimmered with tactical data. 17 sites across their territory are showing massive energy spikes. Nethys's golden eyes narrowed. "Show me." The bridge transformed into a holographic representation of human space, with pulsing red dots marking each excavation site. The energy patterns were unmistakable, and Nethys felt something he hadn't experienced in 3 centuries. Uncertainty. "The precursors," he whispered, his voice barely audible even to his own crew. "The humans have found precursor sites." "My lord?" his coordinator asked. "Surely the precursors are legend. They vanished before even our ancestors achieved spaceflight." Nethys's laugh was bitter. "Legend? Child. The precursors are the reason the collective went into hibernation. We fought them once, long ago, when your great-grandsires were still swimming in spawning pools. They didn't vanish. They chose to sleep just as we did. And now these humans, in their desperate ignorance, are waking them up." The tactical display shifted as new energy readings came in from the human excavation sites. The patterns were accelerating, as if responding to the approaching Drakari fleet. "My lord, your orders?" Nethys was quiet for a long moment, his ancient mind processing variables that spanned geological timescales. "Alter course for Kepler 442b. We end this quickly, before they can complete their awakening ritual. And if we're too late, then we pray that the precursors remember us more fondly than they remember our past conflicts." Back on Kepler 442b, Sarah Chen was experiencing the impossible. The crystalline structure had opened like a flower, revealing a chamber filled with flowing light that formed shapes and patterns almost too complex for human perception. At the center of the chamber, something was taking shape. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this," Marcus called out, his voice filled with awe. "The translations are coming through our computers automatically. It's like the artifact is teaching our systems its language in real time." Sarah approached the main console where streams of alien text were being converted into English with disturbing accuracy. The message that appeared made her blood freeze. "Greetings, children of Terra. We have watched your species with interest since you first left your home world. Your courage in the face of extinction is familiar to us. We understand that the Flame-Bearers have declared war upon you." "Flame-Bearers?" Sarah muttered. "It means the Drakari?" The text continued. "We offer a bargain as we offered once before to species facing extinction. We will defend you against the Flame-Bearers. In exchange, humanity will serve as our hands in the physical realm. You will become our agents of change in a galaxy that has grown stagnant." Marcus looked up from his readings, his face pale. "Dr. Chen, the energy output is increasing exponentially. Whatever's happening, it's happening across all 17 sites simultaneously." On the surface, Captain Rodriguez watched in amazement as structures began emerging from the ground around the excavation site. They weren't built, they were growing, like metallic trees reaching toward the sky with impossible grace. Each structure pulsed with the same blue energy as the artifact below. "Captain," his communications officer called out urgently, "the Drakari fleet just dropped out of FTL. They're 3 hours out and moving fast." Rodriguez activated his comlink to the excavation team. "Dr. Chen, whatever you're doing down there, you need to do it faster. We have incoming dragons and not much time." Sarah's voice crackled back through static that seemed to carry whispers in unknown languages. "Captain, I don't think time works the way we think it does down here. I'm seeing things that happened millions of years ago and things that haven't happened yet. The precursors. They exist across multiple time streams simultaneously. Doctor, I need straight answers. Can they help us against the Drakari or not?" The response came not from Sarah, but from the artifact itself, speaking through their communication systems with a voice like crystalline wind chimes. "The Flame-Bearers approach. We remember them from the last epoch. They were worthy opponents then. We shall see if they have improved." Rodriguez felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up as the growing structures around him began to shift and move, configuring themselves into shapes that hurt to look at directly. Whatever the precursors were, they were definitely not human, and their idea of help might be more terrifying than the Drakari threat they faced. In orbit above Kepler 442b, space itself began to ripple as reality bent around the emerging precursor technology. The ancient beings were awakening after 50,000 years of slumber, and their first sight was a galaxy at war. The dragons were coming, humanity was desperate, and powers older than both were stirring in the depths of worlds that had seemed empty and safe. The galaxy was about to discover that some sleeping giants were better left undisturbed. But it was too late for second thoughts. The precursors were awake, and they remembered everything. The battle for Kepler 442b began not with explosions or weapons fire, but with a conversation that spanned the void between two ancient powers. Nethys, the world burner's massive form, materialized on the bridge of his flagship as it dropped out of hyperspace near the human world. But instead of finding a defenseless colony ripe for conquest, he found himself staring at structures that defied physics, reaching from the planet's surface into space itself like fingers of living metal and light. "By the first fire," he whispered, his golden eyes reflecting patterns that hurt to perceive directly. They actually succeeded in waking them. The communication came not through technology, but directly into his mind, carried on frequencies that predated matter itself. The voice was composed of harmonics that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Greetings, young flame. We remember you from the War of the Seventh Epoch. You have grown since last we met." Nethys coiled tighter around his command nexus, ancient memories flooding back. "Keeper of the spiral path, I had hoped never to hear your voice again. Yet here we stand, drawn together by the ambitions of these fascinating humans. They face extinction, much as your ancestors once did when the Devourers swept across the galaxy. Do you remember what choice we offered then?" The Drakari commander's scales darkened with remembered fury. "You offered us slavery disguised as salvation. We chose to fight and won our freedom. And yet you slept for 3 centuries afterward, exhausted by victories that cost you more than defeats ever could. These humans show promise. They adapt. They surprise. They refuse to surrender, even when logic demands it. Perhaps they will choose more wisely than you did." On the surface of Kepler 442b, Dr. Sarah Chen found herself standing in a space that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The excavation site had transformed into something that resembled a cathedral built from crystallized time. Around her, holographic displays showed the approaching Drakari fleet and something else, something that made her breath catch. "My God," she whispered, "there are others." The precursor entity that had been communicating with her took shape beside her, a flowing form of light and geometry that suggested rather than depicted a humanoid figure. "Indeed, Dr. Chen, 17 worlds, 17 awakenings. Your species has managed to rouse more of our kind than any other in galactic history. What do you want from us?" "What we have always wanted. Evolution, change, progress. The galaxy has grown stagnant under the rule of species that achieve power and then seek only to maintain it. The Drakari sleep for centuries rather than adapt. The Galactic Council regulates and restricts rather than explores. You humans, however, you push boundaries, you take risks, you fail spectacularly, and then get up and try again." Sarah watched through the dimensional viewer as Captain Rodriguez and his men took defensive positions around structures that were still growing and changing. Above them, reality warped as precursor technology interfaced with space-time itself. "And if we refuse your bargain?" she asked. "Then you face the dragons alone, and likely join the list of extinct civilizations that litters this galaxy, but we believe you will choose differently. Observe." The scene around Sarah shifted, showing her other excavation sites across human space. On Proxima 7, Dr. Martinez was working alongside a precursor entity to design defensive systems that incorporated both human ingenuity and alien technology. On Wolf 35P9C, Lieutenant Commander Park was learning to pilot craft that moved through space by convincing reality that they were already at their destination. "We do not seek slaves, Dr. Chen. We seek partners. Beings capable of growth, of change, of surprising even themselves. Your species has already surprised us by awakening so many of our installations simultaneously. No other species has managed more than 3. In space above them, the Drakari fleet had arranged itself in a classic battle formation. 7 massive ships that resembled organic cities more than conventional vessels. But they weren't attacking. They were waiting. Nethys transmitted on open frequencies, his voice reaching every human receiver in the system. "Humans of Kepler 442b, you have awakened powers that you cannot comprehend. Stand down and accept evacuation, and you will live to see tomorrow. Continue down this path, and you risk unleashing forces that could unmake the galaxy itself." The response came not from the humans, but from Captain Rodriguez, who found himself speaking words that felt both foreign and familiar on his tongue. "Great Nethys, We appreciate your concern, but humanity has a habit of taking risks that seem insane to others. It's how we got this far. It's how we'll go even farther. Captain, Admiral Harrison's voice crackled through the comm system. We're reading massive energy buildup across all 17 sites. Whatever's happening down there, it's affecting our ships in orbit. Our engines are performing 30% above normal efficiency, and our weapon systems are showing capabilities we've never seen before. Sarah Chen, still standing in the impossible cathedral of the precursors, realized what was happening. You're not just awakening, she said to the entity beside her. You're integrating, with our technology, with our people, with our way of thinking. As we said, Dr. Chen, partners, not masters. We provide capabilities beyond your current understanding. You provide something we lost long ago, the ability to grow and change and adapt. Together, we can create something neither of our species could achieve alone. The moment of truth came when Skyrick the Stormcaller, growing impatient with the standoff, launched a probe toward the planet's surface. It was a small thing, no larger than a fighter craft, but it carried weapons that could level cities. The probe never reached the atmosphere. Reality twisted around it like water around a stone, and suddenly it was somewhere else entirely. Millions of light years away in an empty region of space, where it would drift harmlessly until its power ran out. Displacement technology, Nethys breathed, his ancient mind recognizing capabilities he had hoped never to face again. They haven't just awakened the precursors, they've formed an alliance. The transmission from the planet came in Admiral Harrison's voice, but carried harmonics that spoke of vast intelligence and power. Nethys of the Drakari Collective, we offer you the same choice we have offered humanity. Join us in exploring the next phase of galactic evolution, or continue your ancient patterns of conquest and slumber. But know that if you choose conflict, you face not just humanity, but humanity enhanced by our knowledge and guided by our experience. For the first time in 3 centuries, Nethys felt something approaching uncertainty. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had not just awakened an ancient power, they had convinced it to work with them rather than simply use them. My lord, his tactical coordinator whispered, energy readings from the other human worlds show similar integrations. They have turned 17 precursor installations into hybrid facilities. Their capabilities are now beyond our ability to calculate. Nethys considered his options with the patience of eternity, but the mathematics were clear. The Drakari Collective could destroy individual human worlds, but the cost would be enormous, and the humans would adapt and respond with capabilities that grew stronger with each encounter. Open a channel, he commanded. All frequencies. When the connection stabilized, his voice carried the weight of ancient wisdom and hard-earned respect. Humans of the galaxy, you have surprised us. You faced extinction and chose to wake powers that could have enslaved or destroyed you. Instead, you convinced them to work with you as equals. This is not conquest. This is not survival. This is evolution. The response came from Sarah Chen, speaking now with confidence that surprised even her. Great Nethys, we learned from the best teachers in the galaxy. Every species we've encountered has taught us something valuable. The Galactic Council taught us diplomacy. The Xerians taught us precision. And now the precursors are teaching us that the universe is far stranger and more wonderful than we ever imagined. And what would you have us teach you? Sarah smiled, standing in a cathedral built from crystallized time, while ancient beings of pure energy danced around her like friendly ghosts. Patience, honor, the value of rest between conflicts. We tend to burn bright and burn out fast. Perhaps it's time we learn to burn steady. The war that might have destroyed human civilization ended not with surrender or conquest, but with an agreement that surprised everyone involved. The Drakari would share their knowledge of sustainable power and long-term thinking. Humanity would share their adaptability and enthusiasm for change. The precursors would provide the framework for both species to grow beyond their current limitations. 3 months later, Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the first hybrid research station, watching as Drakari engineers worked alongside human scientists and precursor entities to design ships that could travel between dimensions. The galaxy was about to become a much larger place. "Any regrets?" asked Admiral Harrison, who had retired from military service to become humanity's first ambassador to the Tri-Species Alliance. Sarah watched a young dragon pilot practicing maneuvers with flight patterns provided by precursor mathematics, while a human engineer explained the emotional significance of different aerial formations. "Only that it took us so long to realize that evolution works better when species help each other change instead of trying to destroy each other." Above them, the stars seemed brighter somehow, as if the galaxy itself was excited about what came next. Humanity had faced extinction and chosen transformation instead. The dragons had rediscovered the joy of learning new things. The precursors had found partners who could help them grow beyond the patterns they had followed for millions of years. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point.